This is Metal Mike, and in this episode of the 80's Glam Metalcast, I talk with the killer guitarist, Rowan Robertson. We talk about all the projects he's working on today, and we revisit his time playing with Ronnie James Dio. Check it out. Well, Rowan, welcome to the 80's Glam Metalcast. How you doing tonight, man?
Doing good, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. It's Friday. It's weekend. I like
cool.
it. So, we're in 2021, and I'm assuming you got some projects coming up this year. What do you got going on?
Well, the first thing I'll have out is with I've got 3 songs coming out mid-March with Les Warner, and we have a project, and we have a great singer from a group actually in India. And so we've been doing that on the internet. Les has a studio at his house, so we've been recording tracks there and sending them over to this singer. And those will be coming out under the project name Custard Pie in mid-March, because they're sort of like a heavy 70s kind of, definitely heavy rock, but got a bit of a 70s thing to it. And then got another couple projects I'm working on here. I've got a group. We're doing more of like almost like a bit prog, like instrumental progressive rock, a project here in Vegas as well, which we're going to start getting into the studio with a couple of those bits. So definitely have some stuff out soon.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's definitely some good stuff to look forward to.
Thanks. As
you know, I mean, the podcast is the 80's Glam Metalcast, and I think we have to go back in time, at least for a little bit here, and maybe go back to 1990. You're 17, 18 years old. You basically make history by joining Dio's band for Lock Up the Wolves album. How do you look back on that time period?
Oh, I just look back very fondly on it. It was a really easy, fun time. I got loads of great memories, and of course, as you say, I mean, it was a little bit of history, and I feel so fortunate, to have played with him,
Now, with this album, I mean, you've got a lot of songwriting credits on it. What was it like stepping up to the plate and writing with Ronnie?
Well, it was funny, because when we did the audition, we played Holy Diver and Last in Line and everything, and then we actually got together into this first day of writing. And I said to him, I don't know if I can write. I said, I don't know if I can do this. And he said, don't worry. Trust me, you're going to be fine. Like this. And so he used the group I think he kind of used it as a tool to write with. He would see what guitar player riffs the guitar player had, and you might play him like 10, 20 different things, and he might go, oh, what's that? And then we'd start jamming it up, and, just day to day, really. Then we'd try and find another section to go with that first section, which the riff might come. Ronnie came up with a couple of riffs on the album, and, of course, Jimmy Bain, and then Ronnie might come in with the title, but he really pieced the songs together slowly, and he was a really great craftsman and a great writer, obviously. It was fun. It was great fun. I remember the writing process quite well.
Seems like it's a bluesier album than maybe the ones that are before it. Was that something that he was kind of shooting for, going for like a bluesier style? Or
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I remember he said to me once, he said, and Claude Schnell also said this to me, if you have a guitar riff and you want to know if it's something that could work for Dio, if you could imagine someone in the front row of the concert, like with the fist in the air, like, yeah, you know what I mean? If you can picture that. So he said that to me, and so I don't think he was looking for a bluesier album. I think even though I was a shredder and a metal player, I think, my first influence was Hendrix and everything, so I was really bluesy. And looking back, it was a different sound, and I think also there were certain things that Ronnie wanted to hear from me, and I don't think I could really deliver on certain things that he was looking to hear. With time, I think I've become a better player and more understanding what he wanted in a guitar player back then. But I think he dealt with what he had in me and made an album with what he had with me, and it was definitely more bluesy, yeah.
Yeah, and I like it. I mean, songs like Between Two Hearts and Twisted and even Lock Up the Wolves, it's more of that bluesy riff type stuff, you know what I mean? And then you've got your songs that sound like there's a few on there that sound like traditional Dio type stuff. But I like it. It adds a different dimension, to his music.
Cool. I see. Yeah, cool. Yeah, like, for instance, I know what you mean. Night Music is quite traditional Dio sounding. And that one came from a keyboard line that I think either he or Claude Schnell had, as I remember.
Now, when you were out on the road, I mean, you're a young guy. I mean, was this like crazy debauchery going on for you? Or did Ronnie keep you in check? What was going on the tour?
Oh, no, the tour was like a year-long total party. It was great.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was awesome. Pardon? Yeah, I just remember every night on the bus. We were definitely partying. It was great. Yeah.
How did you get along with some of these guys that were older than you? Even guys, I mean, there were probably bands that were opening up for you guys that was anybody like having an attitude, or was everybody pretty cool?
No, everyone was completely cool. And I was also, I think I was so naive that I probably wouldn't have noticed if anyone wasn't anyway. Because I was just like a kid, and I just enjoyed it all. And I remember we toured with Yngwie, which for me was crazy because I was a huge Yngwie fan.
Yeah, me too.
As a kid, and I still am, of course. He's incredible. And, suddenly he's the support act, and I'm thinking, what's going on? And
right.
And I remember I walked past his dressing room and he was there playing his guitar, and I just sort of went in. I was like really sitting there, like, real politely, just watching, and he handed me the guitar, and I started shredding, and and he says, he says, you remind me of my friend John Norum, and so that was nice to hear, and then we toured with Love Hate, and those guys are all great, and I still see Jizzy and Johnny Love around, still see a lot of the people around, and I think everyone was really fine with me,
Hey guys, this podcast takes a lot of time and effort. I want to do more in-depth projects on here, but I can't do it without your help. Just Google 80's Glam Metalcast on Anchor. Once there, hit the support button and you can donate 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99 a month. Your support will ensure that this podcast will be rocking out for years to come. Thanks for listening. So you're talking about Yngwie as one of your heroes. What are some of the bands that you grew up on, and some of the bands that you like? Because you and I are about 5 years difference. I think I'm 5 years younger than you. So I'm just curious to see if we have some of the same, like some of the same stuff. So who are some of the bands you were into growing up?
Let's see. Well, my first influence was Beatles because my parents had all the albums, so I had all those albums. I loved them, and then I think the first band that I ever bought an album was either Jimi Hendrix or the Police, because I loved both of those, and Status Quo. That was being in England, that was a big thing growing up, Status Quo, and then ZZ Top, and then Queen, and then of course then I got into more the metal with Anthrax and obviously Van Halen, David Lee Roth, Dio, Sabbath. Gary Moore, I had a Michael Schenker album. There wasn't a lot of kids in my school that even really knew about metal because it wasn't very big, so I wasn't exposed to the amount that a lot of people are growing up. But those are some of the ones they're my favorites. Yeah.
What about the? Did you get into the hair metal scene at all, like Motley Crue and Rat and the LA stuff?
Rat, yes, only because of the guitar playing, Rat and Dokken, because, I would read, the guitar playing magazines, guitarist, and of course George Lynch and Warren being, so big at that time. That's how I was exposed to those groups. And of course I knew of Motley Crue, though I didn't have an album or anything of Crue.
What's your favorite Yngwie album?
Oh, well, I had Marching Out, and I had Rising Force, I think. Oh no, I had Odyssey as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were all great. Yeah.
Yeah, those first few that he did. I mean, Trilogy, Odyssey, Marching Out. I mean, they're just amazing. Such amazing albums.
Oh, actually, that's Trilogy. That was the first one I had. I remember I bought it. I went I went Christmas shopping with my girlfriend, and she says, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I said, "I want this album by Yngwie Malmsteen." She goes, "Who?" She says, she looked at the cover and she goes, "You sure you want this?" and I do the Rock Vault here in town, or have been doing it, the Las Vegas show, the Rock Vault, Raiding the Rock Vault. And Mark Bowles is actually he's not any longer, but he was in the show for many years, and I would always talk to him about how much I loved that album, and he would say, to tell me the stories of recording it and how he was like really pissed off recording. What was that first song? You Don't Remember, I'll Never Forget.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was so pissed off when I did that recording. Oh man, I was so mad at the engineer. I was really pissed off singing it. And so it was cool for me to hear those stories of, from Mark. That's a great record.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So with Dio, you get to like 91, and it sounded like there was another album that was going to happen, right? With you on it?
Well, no, what it was is he had been asked, I think, to go back to Sabbath, and he didn't know whether he should continue Dio or go back to Sabbath. So I think from about the middle of the tour until he eventually did join Sabbath, decide to do it, he was sort of, toying with the idea in his head and trying to make up his mind, whatever. And when we got back off the tour, because Geezer Butler came out to Minneapolis, and he actually came on stage, and so that was amazing to play with Ronnie and Geezer on stage. That's something I really treasure. There's a YouTube of it and everything. And so when we got back to LA, he had me over to his house like twice, I think, and we messed around with a couple of riffs, and he made the decision to go back to Sabbath.
You like that album, Dehumanizer?
Oh, the Dehumanizer?
Yeah.
Dehumanizer. Yeah, it's killer. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I love that one, too. I honestly think, for me, I know a lot of people love the early Dio stuff. I mean, I do, too, but I really like where he was going toward the 90s, the end of the end of the 80s, into the 90s. I love Lock Up the Wolves. I love Dehumanizer. I love Strange Highways. I kind of like some of that era of his. He was kind of getting heavier, bringing back some of that heavy stuff. I liked it.
Cool. Yeah, right on. Yeah. Yeah, I remember he had expressed a couple of times that, I guess he was definitely thinking about those more sort of, darker sounds and stuff at that time. Yeah.
So for you, you're kind of, the band, when the album comes out, it's 1990. And we all kind of know by like 1991, 1992, grunge comes out. Were you kind of devastated when the styles were changing? Because here it is, you're right into the scene, and you're looking like, man, this is going to really go for a while. And then all of a sudden, there's all these changes. What was going through your mind at that point?
Well, I didn't really. I don't think the change. Well, I think what did affect me about the change was how it was quite. As soon as the music industry changed, as soon as it changed, I think people were quite prejudiced against it. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, you play solos? Oh God, how uncool! You know what I mean? So I think it was, that I suppose that aspect of it was not very nice. But other than that, obviously, it was difficult for everyone. Yeah, I think to some degree.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially for fans too, because it's like you're seeing all your favorite bands getting dropped from their labels, and MTV's not playing your favorite bands anymore. I know as a fan it was difficult, and because and I think talking to you, I kind of feel like this is you. Like I always felt like I was kind of like an older soul. You know what I mean? Like I was ahead of my time. I got into music really early. So you sound like that. I mean, if you're a teenager and you're listening to Hendrix and Beatles, you're more of an old soul, and that's probably why you were able to connect with these guys who were a lot older than you. I feel like sometimes that was how I was. I got into it really early. So even though when grunge came out, I was graduating. Actually, even before that, I was like a junior in high school or something like that when grunge was coming out. But it wasn't my music though. You know what I mean? So a lot of people could say, oh, when I graduated, I love Nirvana and all that kind of stuff. I can't say that. You know what I mean? I was kind of resistant to it. You know what I mean? I was longing for, metal. So.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Interesting, yeah.
Now, with Strange Highway, so he gets Dio back, but there's never talk about joining back up again? What happened when he left Sabbath and got Dio going again?
Yeah, when he did get Dio back together, he never asked me to do it. There was one time I was going to fill in for Craig, but that never happened. And then one time, much later, I suppose it would have been in about 2004 or something, I don't know if he was joking or not, but he said, want to do my new record? I don't know if he was joking, but no, he never asked me back to Dio. When he did the album with Tracy.
Tracy, yeah. 93 or 94 or something like that is about when it came out. What do you think of that album? What do you think of that album?
Really good. I mean, he's such a fantastic player. Yeah, I don't know it as well as some of it, but I've heard enough of it to know it's really good. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's heavy. You know, once again, like I said, he's bringing out that darker sound and that heavier sound, which was, you know, once again, common for the time. You know what I mean? Because it's not the 80s. That's not the 80s anymore. You can't have the heavy, loaded with keyboards and poppy type stuff. So you really had to get a little bit darker and a little bit more, heavier at that point. So I like that one a lot.
Yeah, and I think Ronnie always I can't speak for him, but my understanding was he always wanted to do the heavy stuff. I mean, since he found that sound with Rainbow, that was it for him.
I kind of think any artist who's been around for a long time kind of has their finger on the pulse of what's going on. You know what I mean? So in the 80s, he was putting out the right kind of music. The 90s came and he got heavier. He dabbled in some different sounds. Or, he was around in the 70s and the 80s, so he had been around. So I think you've kind of got to evolve, be yourself, but, change a little bit with the times.
Right, I see what you're saying. Absolutely, yeah.
You also played with Oni Logan, right, from Lynch Mob.
Yeah.
What happened with that project?
Well, that would have started in, I suppose, about 92, and it went, it was probably the year I came off tour with Dio. Within about 6 months, we started writing, and so it would have been about 91, and I think we had the album recorded in 93, so it took quite a while, but we ended up getting an album produced by Dave Jerden, who was the huge producer at the time, Alice in Chains and everything. And it was a really real departure for me, because it was quite it was spacey and psychedelic but heavy, and sort of quite dreamy, So it was very different.
I actually was checking it out, I want to say maybe even last night. I like it. It almost has a little bit of the Cult kind of a vibe. I liked it a lot.
Oh, cool. Thanks for saying. Yeah, he definitely loved the Cult. I knew he loved that Sonic Temple album a lot.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's certainly very different, and I like it. I'm really quite proud of it because it's very different.
I did a few albums under the name DC4 with the Duncan brothers, and that's some pretty good stuff too, man.
Cool. Actually, Jeff Duncan has just managed to get another record deal within the last month or so. So we've been writing again. He's been coming over here and bringing his riffs over and bouncing them off me, and I've been sort of throwing in my input with arranging them, and so there should be another record from DC4 by maybe after summer.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great stuff. I've been listening to that for years.
Cool. Yeah, nice. Great, yeah.
Talk a little bit about rating the Rock Vault. So, I mean, obviously, like you said, you got to play with Mark Bowles. I'm sure you played with Robin McCauley and Howard Leese. So you played with all these guys. I mean, what was that experience like? What have you learned from this experience?
The experience was great all the way through. And as you say, Howard Leese, Hugh McDonald from Bon Jovi, Robin, Blas from Slaughter and Trans-Siberian, Phil Susan, Paul Shortino, Michael T. Ross, and obviously I learned a lot from Howard Leese, because he plays the guitar in a really super graceful way, and he's real heavy, and he's just such an amazing player. So playing with him every night has definitely rubbed off on me, and it's been good to be performing every night, because I was doing it for years, so did it for about 4 years. So playing on stage 5 nights a week is really good for your chops and confidence on stage and everything. And Robin is just awesome. Robin's great, and we keep in contact a lot. And I mean, what a singer as well. Just such talent. I mean, Shortino and all those guys. I mean, they're just top players. Andrew Freeman, Mark. I mean, there's just so much talent in that show. It's really, really a privilege to be a part of it.
Is there anybody out there that you're just dying to play with or do an album with?
Oh, there's so many great players out there. It would be wonderful to collaborate with. But I think my real buzz comes out of writing with a group, doing your own riffs and your own stuff. That's where my real buzz comes in, you know.
And it sounds like obviously you've got a lot of that going on between all the projects you've talked about. So, there'll be a lot coming out.
I've really made use of this year of you know, not being, you know, no gigs, you know, a lot of time at home, and made use of it, you know.
Now, are you able to do the Raiding the Rock Vault right now, or no, at a limited capacity, or no?
No.
Okay.
It's the owner, Sir Harry in England. He's gone to England. Harry Cowell. Sir Harry Cowell. He's mentioned about bringing it back perhaps next year, I think he said. So fingers crossed that it comes back. That would be great.
Well, hey, Rowan, I really appreciate your time tonight. What do you want to say to your fans that have followed you all these years in closing?
Oh, well, I'm very thankful and really appreciate everyone who looks out for me and supports. So, thanks ever so much. That's really all I can say.
Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Good night. See ya.
Well, that was a great chat with Rowan. Plenty of more stuff is coming on the way, so make sure you subscribe. And remember, live streams every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Rock on!